Greetings and warm salutations, good teachers. It's Dr. Sandra Jack Malik from Cape Breton University, Department of Education. We are here at our Teaching and Learning YouTube station, and today I'd like to talk about vocabulary. The last video we spoke about the work of John Hattie with a particular focus on teaching strategies that fall within that zone of desired effects, with a score of 0.4 or greater being what we're after. Today we're going to focus on vocabulary instruction, which has a score of 0.67. That's clearly putting it into that zone of desired effects. So first of all, just a little background. We want to start with an idea. Paris in 2005 talked about skills as being constrained or unconstrained. And a constrained skill is a foundational skill that a student requires, but they basically learn it once and then they have it. So for example, a student learning the sound symbol. The student can look at a B, say it's a B, and say B. They've got it. You don't have to go back. They've got it for most kids. And then unconstrained skills, those are things like vocabulary and comprehension. And these are skills that teachers are teaching kids from grade primary straight through to grade 12. There's no end point. It's continuity. We're pushing, we're learning, it's moving forward. So what makes for good vocabulary instruction? In 2010, the American National Reading Panel suggested the following: direct instruction of specific skills, repetition, giving the kids lots of exposures to the word, that the words that you select as the teacher are useful across subject areas and context, and useful across all 6 of the English language arts, that students find them engaging, and that we do include vocabulary instruction when we're reading to kids. Okay, a couple of other ideas that you need to understand as we deepen our understanding of vocabulary instruction is this idea of contextual analysis. So if a student comes to a word that they don't know what the word is, they can read it, they can decode it, but they don't know the meaning of it. If the student's able to figure out the meaning from the words before it or words after it or the sentence before or after, then the child is engaging in contextual analysis. The kid gets the meaning. You don't have to instruct those words. If the child can engage in morphemic analysis, and we're going to talk a little bit about that later. A morpheme is the smallest unit of meaning in a word. That's prefixes, suffixes, bases, and roots. If a child can do that, looking at a word, you probably don't have to instruct it either. The other 2 ideas that we want to think about with vocabulary is receptive vocabulary and expressive vocabulary. So receptive refers to words that a kid can hear or read and know what they mean. Productive or expressive means these are words that kids can use across all the English language arts. They have meaning and they're able to make meaning across all 6 language arts. The next question we want to ask ourselves is, how do we know when a kid owns a word, when a kid has mastery? So there's kind of 5 general ideas that educators think about. Can the kid define it? Can the child apply it correctly? Do they remember it? Do they understand it when it's used in different examples? And again, the important piece is, can they use it across all 6 of the English language arts, and can they use it in various contexts? Once a child's able to do that, then you know the kid owns that word. They have mastery, automaticity or mastery. A big question, and one that we want teachers to think about more, is how do you decide which words to teach? So again, there's a series of 6 questions that you can consider. Is it representative? Is this a word that the child needs to understand other ideas? Is it number 2, repeatability? Will it be used again in that same text or throughout the year? Number 3, transportability. Is it used across all 6 of the English language arts and across all subject areas? If it is, then you might want to teach it. Is the child able to engage in contextual analysis like we spoke about here? If so, you might not need to teach it. Again, structural analysis, if the kid can do that, you probably don't need to instruct it. And the other one that teachers need to think about is the child's cognitive load. If you're introducing 25 new words per week, that might be too much for some children, or 25 new words per chapter. So you have to get a sense of how many words a child can take on in that given period. Next, what I'd like to do is actually demonstrate a couple of these strategies with Mary Lynn Bryson, who's a current Bachelor of Education student here at CBU. Okay, Mary Lynn, I noticed from your last few assignments that you're having difficulty with some words that I regularly use in question sentences. So today I've selected 4 words that I'd like to work with. These are the words, and I've written them in syllables. Would you read them, please?
Influence, explain, predict, evaluate.
Okay, very nice. Okay, we're going to use, and we've used this before in class, we're going to use the words I need to know sheet. If you could just push those, let's just push them up. And over here we have the words again. Can you read them again? This time they're not in syllables.
Influence, evaluate, explain, predict.
Okay, and we're familiar with this. Do you know it, you sort of know it, or you have no clue? So let's think of, I'm going to give you the pencil, and if you could complete that sheet.
I sort of, kind of, probably not really. Okay.
Okay, perfect. So we have explain, you know, and then we have 2 in the sort of column, which are, can you tell me the 2 you put in sort of?
Predict and influence.
And what have you put in the no clue?
Evaluate.
Evaluate. Okay, so let's just push that off to the side. And I want you to think about chapter 2 from the novel study that you're working on. And we're going to try to think of these words and think about chapter 2. So I'm going to ask a question, a typical question that uses one of those words, and then I'm going to explain to you what the word means. In chapter 2 of the novel, what influence did the lost puppy have on Harry? So when we think of influence, it's like an effect. What effect did it have on someone or something? So let's think about chapter 2. What effect did that lost puppy have on Harry? What influence did it have on Harry when he lost his puppy?
He was really upset and sad.
Yeah, okay. Now let's go to the next one. What's the second word we're looking at?
Evaluate.
Okay, evaluate Harry's efforts to find the puppy. And to evaluate is decide if something's worthwhile or it's valuable. It's good or it's bad or it's valuable. So the question again, evaluate Harry's efforts to find the puppy.
He put a lot of effort into finding the puppy. So he had a great effort in finding the puppy.
Okay, can you give me one example of his effort?
He put up over 100 posters.
Okay, so when you evaluate Harry's efforts, do you find them good, bad, strong, weak? What would you say when you evaluate them?
A strong effort, for
Okay.
sure.
Okay, and then explain, you knew that one. So the question is, explain why Harry never asked his dad for help.
Well, he wanted to take care of it himself because he thought it was his fault.
So when you're explaining something, you're giving me more details about it. You're describing it. So nicely done. And then the last word we are working on today is predict. Predict what will happen to the puppy. And we think about prediction, we think about what will happen in the future. So what do you think? What do you predict will happen to the puppy in the future?
I don't think the puppy's going to run away anymore
Okay.
because he didn't have a very good time when he was gone.
Okay, very good. Okay, so at this point, what we want you to think about, teachers, is just that repeated exposure to the word, and we call it touches. How many times has Mary Lynn had an opportunity to intellectually touch on a word, to orally read the word out loud, to think about it in the context of this chapter 2? And the more touches that she gets, the better. And in different contexts, the better too. So now, you know what morphology work is. What's a morpheme?
The smallest unit of meaning.
Smallest unit of meaning in a word, right? So today we're going to look at just two of the words, I think. We have this, and this, and this, and this, okay? So I think you know what that morpheme means.
X is like out.
Out. Can you give me another word that has that in it?
Exit.
Exit. And so what does that mean, exit?
Exit is how you get out.
Yeah, how to get out, right? Okay. And then, how about this? This is a new one, plane, and this means a flat surface.
Okay.
A plane. So how could that fit together you said explain was to describe. So you said get out here.
And a flat surface. Kind of like putting everything out on the table?
Kind of like putting everything out on the table. That's an excellent description. Okay. And I think you've seen this before. This is one we've done before.
Before.
Before, right. Can you tell me another word where that is?
My mom is a pre-service teacher.
And what does that mean?
She's not quite a teacher yet. She's in training to be one.
So before being a teacher, she's being trained. This is a new one, dict, and it means to speak. So how can you put to speak and before for predict?
To speak and before. Well, really, you're speaking before you know what's going to happen. You're speaking about what you think before it's going to actually happen.
Good. Very, very nicely done. So this morphological work is very important for us to do. It gives kids clues to start doing that structural analysis. So if they came across another word that had EX or dict, like dictation, they might be able to, knowing if they knew that that was speak, they might be able to do some analysis and figure out the words on their own. And that's what we're after. So let's clear those away. Mary Lynn, please. So next, what I'd like to do, if I say something that might influence you, do you remember what influence was?
Kind of to make a difference.
Okay. Then I want you to say awesome.
Okay.
If the statement I make could influence you, I want you to say awesome. Knowing today is a day of the week. Being told you are breathing. Getting a phone call from your mom and she tells you she won $1 million.
Awesome.
Yeah. So how would that influence you?
That would really influence me. I would be so excited. I'd get a whole bunch of new things and we'd have a lot of vacations.
Okay. If I say something that results in you having to evaluate if I'm telling the truth, please say, wait a minute. I have 100 cell phones in my backpack.
Wait a minute.
Okay. Why do you have to evaluate that?
Because it just seems unreasonable.
Yeah. I'm happy you're here, and I'm a woman. Okay? What would make you say the following? Thinking about those vocabulary words, what would make you say the following? I need to influence the decision.
If my mom said that I was grounded for 2 weeks, I would try to influence her decision.
Okay. What would make you say, I need to evaluate the decision?
Maybe in the same situation, I might have to evaluate the decision on, what did I do? Is what I did worthy of that punishment?
I'm going to just flip it over here now. So what we're trying to do here is give students multiple opportunities to use the words in context and to also, at the same time, continue our work with the morphemes. Okay, let's put our 4 words back, please. I'm going to take these. Okay, and can you read them to me one more time?
Evaluate, predict, explain, influence.
Can you please tell me which morpheme means to speak?
Dict.
Good. Can you tell me which one means on a flat surface?
Plane.
Can you tell me which one means, we did this last week, I wonder if you remember, flow?
Flew.
Very good. Very good. And which one means to go out?
X.
Right. Very nicely done. Very good memory work. Okay. Finally, we are just going to, I'm going to give you a couple of comments, and I want you to think about these words and tell me which word matches with the statement.
Okay.
Okay. I described in detail how the man built my new deck.
Explain.
Explain. Very nice. You did that so quickly. I want to tell you if the plane's going to take off, but it's raining so hard and it's so foggy, and I just don't want to guess.
Predict. He doesn't want to predict.
And what does predict mean again?
It's when you make it, wait, no, it's before and to speak. It's when you're trying to guess what's going to happen.
Very nice. My mom gave us 3 choices in terms of what we could do. We discussed each of the 3 and said why we did want to do it or didn't want to do each of the one of them, and then we decided.
Evaluated the decisions, the options.
Yeah. Okay, so it's important to note that you wouldn't do this all at once with a student. It would be slow. It would be over the course of a week. In terms of the structural analysis, the idea would be to build an increasing deck that the student knew prefixes, roots, and suffixes, and then could use them for structural analysis. The other idea here is these words are specific that Mary Lynn has been having difficulty with in terms of answering questions, so they're specific to her and trying to improve her ability to answer questions. I think that's it. If you have any comments, please leave it below, and thank you very much.